Okay, hopefully you're back with me. This is section 2, and I'm going to review the CFM now. I took readings before I started my work, and I took final readings after my work. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the readings of what it flowed out of the box, and then I'm going to give you the readings of what it ended up as after finishing the porting. Starting off on number 1 cylinder, it flowed at 280 CFM on the box, and it finished up at 340 CFM. Number 2 flowed at 296 CFM and ended up at 347. The number 3 port flowed at 276 CFM and ended up at 331. Quick note at the end of this, I'm going to talk about 3 and 6 real quickly because there's some important things that you need to consider on those. Moving on, number 4. Number 4 flowed at 287 and finished at 343. Number 5 flowed at 291 out of the box and finished at 342 CFM. And number 6 over here flowed at 279 and finished at 341 CFM. Number 7 flowed at 288 CFM out of the box and finished at 352. Number 8 started at 278 and finished at 340. Number 7 was actually the best flowing port out of all of them. Real quick before we move on, I talked about number 3, intake port, and number 6. Those actually flowed were the weakest link as far as flow. So when you're porting this guy, and if you don't have a flow bench, definitely spend a lot more time on 3, working all the nooks and crannies out of it so that you can get this guy to balance out. And 6 is the next one as well. Obviously 7 flows pretty good. It's one of the better ports, the better castings. So you can probably spend a little less time on that and focus that time on 3. Just to, maybe a little speed secret for you there. Those are areas, and if you don't have a flow bench, you may not be able to, know that. But overall, this guy, if you notice, the numbers are coming around at 340 on average, so it's a pretty well balanced intake. And if you're wondering on how I achieved my numbers, let me go back real quickly. It's when I flowed this is nothing more than an intake gasket. It's a bit crude, but notice the holes are in there. I liked it because it simulated a bit of like what a carburetor fluid is, the butterfly. So this is actually more of a truer, how the air would flow into it. So my numbers, if you're comparing them to somebody else, and who knows, there's several different ways that everybody flows their stuff. So, the numbers may be higher or lower to someone else, but that's how I flowed it, and I find that is a more of an accurate way of flowing actually an intake like on this, because that's actually truer how the air flows. So this is the end of this section. Stay tuned, and the next section I'm going to work on is the step 1, actually the first area that you want to attack as far as porting.